Welcome to Ultimate Revenge Tales. Tonight you'll hear a story that will crawl under your skin. It's not about monsters in the dark, but the kind that share your blood and smile at your face while stabbing you in the back. Stay until the end, because of the twist. You won't see it coming. Before we dive in, hit like and subscribe if you enjoy what I do here, and drop a comment with where you're tuning in from and what time it is. It's always fascinating to see who's listening around the world. My name's Daniel, though most people just call me Dan. I grew up in Ohio, in one of those neighborhoods where everyone knew everyone else's business. My parents weren't bad people on the surface. To outsiders, they looked like the model American family church on Sundays, polite smiles at barbecues, a house that always smelled like my mom's vanilla candles. But behind closed doors, things weren't so shiny. See, my parents didn't raise me. They managed me, like I was a tool, an asset to be shaped into something that would make them look good. They had this dream that I'd become someone powerful, someone who could win them the approval of people who mattered in their world. But in practice, they treated me like their servant. When I was a kid, I wasn't allowed to go out with friends unless I finished every chore in the house. Dishes, mowing the lawn, polishing the silverware. If I ever slipped up, my mom would sigh and say, "Dan, if you can't handle responsibility, you'll never amount to anything." My dad, he was sharper. His favorite line, "You'll always be worthless unless you prove otherwise." At the time, I believed them. Every insult carved a groove in my mind, deep enough that I started thinking maybe they were right. By the time I was 24, I was still living in their house, working long hours as an assistant at a logistics company. Not glamorous, but steady, and I was good at it. The kind of good that made other people notice. Except at home, no matter what I did, it was never enough. The first real crack in the mask came one evening. My dad had invited a local businessman over, a CEO of a company he was desperate to impress. Someone who could open doors socially, maybe even financially. My mom made me clean the entire house for hours, barking at me if I missed a single spot. When the CEO arrived, I expected to be invisible, like always. But something happened that shook me to my core, because the CEO didn't treat me like a servant. He looked me dead in the eye and called me boss. At first I thought he was joking. Me? Boss? I was standing there in jeans with a rag in my hand, sweat dripping down my back from polishing the table for the 4th time. But the CEO wasn't laughing. "Dan, right?" he said. "You run the operations over at Albright Logistics." I froze. That wasn't exactly true. I wasn't a manager, technically, but I did handle most of the logistics when my supervisor was too checked out to care. Everyone at the company knew I was the one holding things together. "Yes, sir," I muttered. He smiled wide. "Don't sir me. People at my level talk about you. You're the guy who makes the impossible schedules actually work. You've saved Albright more times than I can count." The room went silent. My parents just stared. For the first time in my life, someone with real weight saw me, recognized me, and my parents hated it. My mom's face twitched like she'd just tasted something sour. My dad's jaw clenched, eyes flicking between me and the CEO. The rest of that dinner was a blur. The CEO kept asking me questions, telling little stories about how he'd heard my name floating around in the business community. He even said, "You've got a future ahead of you, Dan. Don't let anyone hold you back." That line stuck like a knife. Don't let anyone hold you back. But the second he left, the knives really came out. My dad slammed the door shut and turned on me. "What the hell was that?" I blinked. "What do you mean?" "You embarrassed me," he spat. "He thinks you're some kind of genius. You should have corrected him." You're not a boss. You're a glorified errand boy." My mom chimed in, her voice sharp as glass. "We've worked our whole lives to build respect in this town, and you think you can just what? Steal it? Make us look small." I couldn't believe it. For once in my life, someone had praised me, seen me, and all my parents felt was threatened. That was the moment something inside me cracked. But it didn't stop there. Over the next few weeks, they made it their mission to remind me of my place. If I came home late from work, my dad would sneer. "Must be nice playing boss when you're really just a nobody." My mom would, accidentally, forget to make dinner for me, leaving me to scavenge leftovers like I was some unwanted guest in my own home. The breaking point came one night when I overheard them talking. I was walking down the hall, and their voices carried out from the kitchen. My mom said, "The CEO likes him. Maybe we can use that." My dad laughed. "Oh, we'll use him all right. But Dan will never be more than what we say he is. He owes us everything. If he thinks he can rise above, we'll crush that fantasy quickly." I stood frozen, blood boiling. They didn't just disrespect me, they were planning to exploit me. And that was when I realized I wasn't their son, not in their eyes. I was a pawn, a tool, and pawns can flip the board if they want to. I couldn't sleep that night. Every insult, every sneer, every cruel little word from my parents replayed in my mind like a looped tape. My hands shook not from fear, but from rage. And it wasn't just normal anger. It was a quiet, icy kind of fury, the type that burrows deep into your bones and refuses to leave. By morning, the plan had begun forming. If they thought I was weak, they were wrong. I wasn't going to scream or storm out. I was going to outsmart them, and in a way that they'd never forget. I started small, almost imperceptible. I documented everything. Conversations, insults, manipulations. I recorded their attempts to control me, their subtle gaslighting, and even their discussions about the CEO. Every word, every glance. They were building my case without knowing it. Then I went to work. My position at the company gave me an advantage. I knew the schedules, the money flow, and who trusted whom. I began quietly collecting evidence of their business blunders, the minor corruption, the small-scale lies they had told to elevate themselves in the community. Not enough for police involvement, not yet, but enough to make them squirm if I ever chose to pull the trigger. I also honed my exterior. To the world I smiled, laughed, and did my job like always. But inside, I was a strategist, calculating every interaction at home. My parents would make a comment about my failures, and I'd nod politely. But in my head, I was already planning the move that would make them regret every word they ever said to me. Close calls were the worst. My dad once nearly caught me checking his private files on the family computer. I froze, fingers hovering over the keyboard. But I stayed calm, just looking for a document for work. I lied. He shrugged, suspicious but unconvinced, and walked away. Another time, my mom nearly discovered the recordings I had set up around the house. My heart pounded, but I maintained the perfect smile, casually offering her tea. She never noticed the hidden mic under the vase. I became something I never thought I could be: a patient predator. I mapped out their weaknesses, their schedules, their pride. Every insult they hurled at me was now fuel. Every sneer was a piece of ammunition. And then came the chess move that would define everything. I reached out to the CEO, the one who had called me boss. Quietly, professionally, without giving away the chaos at home, I started positioning myself to leave my parents behind. I crafted a story of ambition, opportunity, and independence, making sure it was irresistible to him. Meanwhile, I planted seeds of doubt with my parents, letting them think I was still under their thumb. It was intoxicating. Every day I played both sides. I smiled at my parents, nodded to their commands, but behind closed doors, I was the one pulling the strings. If my plan failed, I'd lose everything. But if it worked, oh, if it worked, they would finally see what it felt like to be powerless. The night I executed the plan, I was calm, cold, almost clinical. I made dinner, exactly like they liked it, set the table perfectly, and waited. I'd planted subtle traps, emails, hidden cameras, financial errors that I had carefully staged to expose their hypocrisy. I had everything timed so that their network of respect and pride would implode before their eyes. When the CEO arrived again, this time officially meeting to discuss my promotion, my parents didn't know what hit them. I watched them squirm as he complimented my work, outlined my potential, and subtly criticized their overreach. Every look they gave me was a mixture of shock and disbelief. Then came the subtle reveal. I had left traces of my recordings on his desk, accidentally showing him snippets of their manipulation, their petty cruelty, the way they treated me like a servant. His eyes widened, then narrowed. He was impressed, but more than that, he understood. "Daniel," he said quietly, leaning closer, "you've handled this far better than I would have. They've been holding you back for years. You deserve better." My parents' faces were pale. Every bit of pride they had crumbled in silence. And just when I thought the story was over, the twist hit not them, but me. In my quest for revenge, I'd crossed a line I didn't see. I realized, staring at my parents' defeated faces, that I didn't feel satisfied. I felt empty, hollow. The rage that had fueled me had left a residue I couldn't wash off. I had manipulated, trapped, and humiliated the people who had hurt me. And yet, I couldn't escape the reflection in the mirror. I had become them, calculating, merciless, cold, and somewhere deep inside, I wondered if the CEO really knew the half of what I had done. It hit me then, the ultimate cruelty. My revenge didn't restore my world. It changed it, permanently. Weeks later, my parents moved out, silent and broken, leaving me alone in the house that had once been a prison. I walked through the rooms, every corner holding a memory of betrayal, every surface a reminder of my own calculated fury. I could rebuild my life. I could climb the ladder at work, finally earn the respect I deserved. But the man who had executed the plan wasn't the same one who had felt powerless. I had traded my innocence, my naivety, for a dark clarity that couldn't be undone. Justice was served, but not in the way I imagined. I still replay their faces in my mind sometimes, the way they realized too late that their control had slipped through their fingers. And I think about the CEO, the one who had believed in me, and I wonder if he'd see the shadow I had become. Most people would have stayed silent, but not me. What would you do in this situation?